Hello and what's up everybody, Thunderbob here tonight, and we are going to be taking a look at Metroid Prime Remastered. We're going to be talking about how it compares to the original and how it holds up today. I am a big retro gamer. I actually grew up in this era. I was in high school when Metroid Prime came out. That dates me a little bit. I'm an old fart. And I really love the Metroid series, and Prime in particular is probably my favorite game in the series. And also one of my favorite games of all time. And I do bring literal receipts. I have here my original Metroid Prime for the GameCube, and inside this, I did this with a lot of my games back then, is literally the receipt from when I bought it for $20 on September 29th, 2003. And yeah, that's really cool to see. I actually popped this in my Wii, which has that GameCube backwards compatibility, and it still has my save on my save card from 20 years ago. I booted it up, I beat the game on the GameCube, I messed around with it a little bit before jumping in the remaster, and it's really cool to see like how far it's come back then to the remaster today. But let's go ahead and jump in. I'm just going to be talking over some footage and giving you my thoughts of the game and some memories of the game, and let's jump right in. Just to show you, here is my final mission completion screen with my time of just under 12 hours, 65%. I do need to go back and unlock a bunch of the missiles and one more of the energy packs, but I've got everything else in the game. It's kind of funny, when I think about Metroid Prime, the original, I remember very little of like the moment-to-moment gameplay. What I really remember is the feelings and the vibe it gave me. The feeling of exploring this huge alien place, the extreme isolation as you're this lone bounty hunter exploring Tallon IV, and the difficult but rewarding combat. I was really curious if the remaster would capture those same feelings, and in short, this is that same game with slightly more modern controls and a completely rebuilt graphics system, while still being very true to that original feeling I got when playing that game. So I did pick up the remaster back at release, and I played just the intro scene and kind of set it aside. I was in the middle of some other games, and I said I'll come back to this when it's the slower time of the year. And I finally jumped back in like a week ago, and I've literally, this is all I've been playing for like the last week. I've been so addicted to it. And to start with, this is a remaster, but it's probably the most impressive remaster that I've ever played. It's not quite a remake, because this really is that original game with just improved art and better controls. But it does feel much more well-produced than a lot of those other remasters I've played. You know, they've really taken time and hand-touched everything in the game. It's not just an up-res, and it really looks amazing. It's almost like this is how my memory, my brain remembers the original, but after booting up the original now, I realize how much they've really improved here. They really have taken every single aspect of this game, every texture, every enemy, all the screen effects, the visor effects, everything, and redone them in such a really impressive way that is still very evocative of the original. It's kind of amazing how really detailed and thorough they were here. And there really is a huge variety of environments and alien structures that the world itself really feels like a character. Every single room serves a purpose, has a name, tells a story, has secrets to find, shortcuts to unlock, or just some reason to exist. These aren't just empty hallways. The enemies are also quite varied, and the added detail and resolution over the original really makes telling them apart and identifying the various types of space pirates a lot easier. My only real negative is, you know, it runs really well at 60 FPS, but, you know, it is running on the original Switch. I'm a big PC player these days. I'm used to, you know, 1440p, 4K, and the Switch is definitely showing its age. And, you know, I almost hope that the Switch 2, whatever comes next, has some decent backwards compatibility. Maybe it can up-res, or maybe they just put out another remaster at 4K, you know, a couple years from now. But, you know, for the resolution, especially on the handheld itself, it is really an impressive looking game. It's just when you blow it up on a, you know, 70-inch 4K television, it's not going to look quite as crisp. I feel like less attention has been given to the audio and the music here. It is still largely that original soundtrack, the original effects, but they were really good in the original. I don't think it really needed as much attention. as the graphics. It still sounds really great. The noise when you're saving, your blasters, the enemies, the haunting and effective soundtrack, it's all really still effective, and I definitely still dig the audio and the music here. The controls have also been modernized. The original game did not support dual stick movement. You moved and looked with the left stick, and then you'd lock onto enemies and strafe around them. The new controls keep the really fun lock-on mechanic, but does add in the dual stick control movement, which makes it feel much more modern and accessible. I actually played through this with my Nixie Wizard controller, which very much feels like the original GameCube controller, and I really enjoyed how it played. And the gameplay mostly holds up. This is the quintessential 3D Metroidvania that many games have emulated over the years. This game does not hold your hand. You have to explore and figure out where to go and how to get there. There are no breadcrumb trails to follow or quest markers like many modern games provide. Outside of a few vague hints, the game rarely shows you where in the map to go next. The game also has a pretty clear order that you need to do things in, even though you can largely explore at your own pace. Sometimes you might miss one little upgrade, and you have to consult a guide or really search extensively on what you need to do to move forward. The map is expansive and sometimes hard to figure out how one zone connects to another, and this is a pretty difficult game. You can die really fast, there's no autosave, and if you die, you reload at your last manual save point, which can only be done at specific and sparsely placed locations. Even though they are very different games, it kind of reminds me of the Soulsborne series. Like games of today where you frequently need to decide if you want to continue to push forward or turn back and save and reset the enemies. It almost feels like they might share a common lineage. This is a point I'm a bit mixed on. I love how they did not compromise and it's very true to the spirit of that original game, but at the same time there are a few moments that feel a bit frustrating and archaic compared to modern design standards. In particular, there's a long sequence towards the end of the game in the Phase on Mines that goes on for nearly an hour between save points. You complete multiple complicated puzzles and fights, then just before the save point is a big boss fight. And then after that boss fight, you get ambushed by multiple enemies and have another encounter. If you die, you go all the way back to your last save point. You have to redo all of the puzzles, all of the encounters, the boss, the exploration. None of the shortcuts you've unlocked or upgrades you've picked up along the way are saved. I get that it's supposed to feel like a long gauntlet, and it's probably the most difficult section of the game, but at the same time, it can be frustrating, and it can be a turn-off to new players. I kind of wish they'd add one or two save points throughout the game, or maybe introduce an autosave feature like before specific boss or difficult encounters. I know it's not true to the original, but I kind of would actually appreciate it. As someone with limited game time these days, and I'm a father and a husband, and like I don't always have 2 hours to play, and then losing progress along the way. And even with all that said, it's still one of my favorite games of all time. I really love it, even the rough edges and the difficulty at times. But I'm just kind of giving a warning to new players or people who've never played the original, people who are more used to modern design standards and auto-saving and hand-holding and things. But this is still an amazing game, one of my favorite games of all time. But there may be moments you can be frustrated, may feel unfair at times, but in the end, if you push through, this is such a rewarding experience. I think this is one of my favorite gaming moments. Playing this back in 2003 was like a defining moment like in my early gaming years and really shaped the type of games that I played for years to come. And this really has been an interesting year for games, especially ones that take me back to my youth. I mean, this year I played Resident Evil 4 Remake, Dead Space Remake, a new Baldur's Gate, a new Metroid, Diablo, like so many games that bring me back to my youth and transport me back to another time. Games that weren't afraid to have some rough edges, to ask more of the players. Metroid Prime Remastered is an amazing game, and this really is the best way to play this game today. It's a magical mix of exploration, smart yet fun puzzles, and difficult yet rewarding combat that really make this game stand the test of time, and I totally recommend this to anyone with the patience to explore and solve this amazing game. So I'll end it there. I do want to thank everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to check out some of my other videos. I cover a ton of retro games, modern games, virtual reality, And if you like what you're seeing, please do like, subscribe, and drop me a comment down below with your thoughts on the game, both the original and the remaster. I want to thank you once more for watching, everyone, and have a good night.